May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, preserving the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, Willem Malten. He came to the San Francisco Zen Center straight from his native Netherlands in the mid-'70s. He was a student there for years, and he learned how to bake when he worked at the Tassar Bakery, and he went to Santa Fe and started the Cloud Cliff Bakery there. And it was really great. I loved Cloud Cliff. He's still baking. He's got another place going, another baker's. And he has a very colorful past with adventures in South America and friendships, acquaintances with Kobun Chino and the Dalai Lama. Oh, but he didn't get to the Dalai Lama on this one. Maybe the next one. And, Richard Baker, and he's been very involved with anti-nuclear work. So we'll hear all about all that stuff. Or we'll hear a little bit about all that stuff when we talk to him now, as soon as we've had our pause to meditate. So when you hear the bell, if you're of such a mind, hit pause and meditate or whatever for as long as you wish. And when you're finished meditating or whatevering, hit unpause. And we'll be here to hit the bell to end the meditation or whatever, and we'll give Willem a call.
Hey, David.
Hey, Willem. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really great. It's just starting to rain, and it's beautiful.
Oh, well, that's good. Always good when it rains in Santa Fe. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in my house.
Is it Santa Fe?
Yes, it's in Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
It's right close to the center. I'm a little bit like Elon Musk. I have my bakery in my business, or my living space in my business.
Your wonderful restaurant, Cloud Cliff. Was it called Cloud Cliff Bakery?
It was called Cloud Cliff Bakery, and Cloud Cliff is actually the name that Baker Roshi initiated me with.
Oh.
But it's really the name that later on Kobun Chino claimed that he was the one that gave that name to me. So it's a funny thing.
Yeah. Well, even I think even the last time I saw you in Santa Fe, you'd rented out the restaurant part, but you were still baking bread over on the right side and had an office over there. But that's no more, huh?
That is no more, but I have a beautiful place, and I'm sorry that you can't see it. But I'm a little bit outside of the middle of town on 2nd Street. And I have a fairly large building or big building, like 7,400 or 7,500 square feet.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty good. And on 1,000 square feet of that, in the same place, I live, and then there's the bakery, and then there's still room, artist all the way on the other side. So that's my situation now. It has been my situation for a long time. Just maybe after you left here, just after you left here, I probably bought this place.
So you're always involved in interesting things. What are you involved in right now?
I'm involved in trying to stop Los Alamos nuclear weapons, seeing that is still going on. So I'm a little bit in activism there. And then for the rest, I'm trying to help actually 2 bakeries moved in to my place.
Oh.
One is the Cloudcliff Bakery, and the other one is called Levan Bakery. And it's, but they're all apprentices of mine at one point. But now I'm all retired.
Well, are you still baking bread?
No.
Oh, goodness.
I'm not. They do everything, and they're so much better than I will ever be. So it's not even a chance that I would help them.
Oh,
no, it's
that's good.
Not quite like that. But I don't have to bake anymore, and I won't. But I have 2 crews of people that are baking that are really good at what they're doing, and they're my friends, and I really enjoy my life the way it is. So and I have a big, really big dog, Akita dog that guards my place and guards the whole building and bakery, and so that is really nice. And then around the whole place, I think I'm here on half an acre of land. So minus the building, that is all gardened. So it's really quite nice to be here. Quite beautiful.
Well, I'd love to come see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish that.
That would be good. I don't know if I'll ever get out of here.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll go visit there.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, absolutely. Yeah.
You're in Bali still, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, you'd like it here.
Yeah, I love it there.
There's a lot of good bread here.
Oh, that's good.
Well, you're Dutch, and there's a lot of Dutch here.
Yes, of course.
And but you know, it's like there's all sorts of people making good bread.
Yes, of course.
It's sort of like California, you know, or Santa Fe.
It's almost cultural. Yeah.
Well, there's all these expats here. There's, you know, like 10, 20,000. I don't know. So there's and a lot of stuff is better. Like, I never liked feta cheese that much till I came here, and I asked a guy I know, he's called Bali Bill. He's been here 40 years or more. I said, I told him that. He said, well, that's because here it's made by Greeks and Italians. Yeah, and you can get baklava made by Greeks here. I haven't seen that in a while, you know, because of COVID, things slowed down. You could enjoy yourself here. Anyway.
Yeah, I know, I know, and I want to go there because, at one point that I think Indonesia was a Dutch colony.
Mm-hmm. You're darn right it
Long
was.
time ago. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the Japanese who liberated it.
Yeah, Japanese were liberated and etc. But yeah, before that it wasn't a Dutch colony.
Yeah. The after World War II, Holland, took it over again, and
Right.
Indonesia fought back, and 1,000
Yeah.
Japanese soldiers stayed behind and fought with them. And
Oh, really? I didn't know
yeah,
that. That's,
yeah, yeah.
That you only learn if you live there.
Yeah, yeah, right. They took care of that within a year, so it was quick. But
Yeah.
I've never heard anything negative about Dutch here.
Well, it was just a colony, so.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they massacred a couple of royal families here, but that's because the royal family stood up against them and said, "No, we will not capitulate." And they had like spears and
yes.
stuff, and the army just mowed them down, really. And that's a big thing. There's big parks named Puputan, named after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do commemorate.
Yeah, but all that was a long time ago. I think they have more resentment against the right wingers here when Suharto took over from Sukarno, and you had like 30 years of dictatorship.
Yes.
And a tremendous amount of mass murder at first, like 500,000, 1 million.
Yes.
Communists, which meant Chinese mainly. But
yeah.
Anyway, all right, now moving on from there.
I said I do not know much about that history.
Yeah.
Other than shortly after the Second World War, it became a real country and they threw the Dutch out.
Yeah.
Probably with good reason. And hopefully the Dutch left some good things there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's, I only know Bali, although there's many people from other islands here, and I spend a lot of time with Muslims, mainly from Java, and Sulawesi. Oh, fine. I don't prefer Hindus to Muslims.
No.
They're fine. They're great. But anyway, all right. Now, you used to go to, where'd you go to? Ecuador?
I used to go to Peru.
Peru, yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking there in the like the headwaters of the Amazon. So,
yeah.
And you made a movie about it, and you had one of your restaurant customers, Gene Hackman, narrate it, and it was good. I really liked it.
Yeah, Gene. Yeah, he's still alive, I think.
Is that right? I think I'd remember if he had passed on to the next Bardo.
He's old, but he's still alive. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your how you got into. You spent a lot of time there in Peru, and where you were, and.
Okay. Okay, I was in the real rainforest of Peru with a tribe called the Shipibo Indians. And they are a very interesting tribe to me because they are ayahuasqueros.
Ayahuasca.
So they take ayahuasca. Yeah. And they turned me on to ayahuasca, of course, there in the forest. And I took a lot of ayahuasca with them there. which moved me a little bit away from Zen Buddhism, as you can imagine. Although I still am a Buddhist, and I guess still a Zen Buddhist, but I'm not, I say, attached to it in the sense that I'm not attached to the form.
That's good. I sympathize.
Well, that's good. For you, maybe there, it's a totally different world, I imagine.
Yeah, I've done Vipassana retreats here with Myanmar monks, you know. There's all sorts of stuff going on here. I like them.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do another one, but I've done another type of retreat here with a healer who studied with the great Vipassana teacher here, and his retreats are easier. And
okay.
I don't think I can do another. I mean, they're really hardcore, the Vipassana retreats here.
How old are you now, David?
77.
77. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go to Hindu ceremonies. I love the Hindu ceremonies because there's no talking hardly. You know, there's a little chanting of this and that, but there's sort of like theater, and they had. I went to one at a place. There was like 10,000. Thomas said there were 20,000 people, and it was in a remote place where there are no foreigners. There was just him and me and 20,000 locals, but they're all wonderful people. And there were all these people in trance walking around like it was a zombie movie. And really, I mean, it was so far out, man. I loved it. And I participate in that stuff. But you know, I told a carpenter that works here that I'd just been to something like that. A nice old guy, I love him. He's Muslim. I said, you know, I just do whatever local people do. If I was with you, if it was okay, I'd go to the mosque. He said, God doesn't care.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, that little clip I sent you that you didn't open up because you didn't get the image, but those are Sufis. So they are like an esoteric school in Muslim world. And I like them as well. But, you know, it doesn't mean nothing that I like them.
Yeah.
But I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I remember your trips to South America, to Peru, inland, like the way things evolved, the oil companies encroaching on their land. Your favorite.
There's no forest left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's or hardly any. It's really deforested, and it's because of oil, really. You know, because people want to have cheap gasoline, and that's it. They hack everything down.
Wow.
So.
How's the tribe? How's the tribe where you usually? I remember you said you weren't going to go back anymore because things were getting too violent. Something like that.
Yes, things have deteriorated in that sense, and I think it goes together with the deterioration of the forest itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's what happened, I think.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I remember you saying that the shaman, or your favorite shaman, you know, he went to town, you know, and it was a long trip on boat to get to civilization. Yeah. But you said he got murdered on the way back.
Yeah, he got murdered. Not only him got murdered, but his son got, or his brother got murdered as well. So not murdered. He got dengue fever, and he died shortly thereafter. He died within a week or something like that.
Oh.
And the shaman himself, he got. I don't know. There's different stories. You know how it goes when somebody dies like that on a ship and is being thrown overboard and never rises back up out of the water, you realize like, oh, there's a lot of stories around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm.
And you never know exactly what happened. Some people say that he fell overboard. Some people say that he got into a conflict with somebody else on the ship because they realized he had money on him because he had been teaching in the city and then was on his way back, and then they realized, oh, he had money. He was the one that had the money because he had been teaching in the city, and somehow they had a conflict over that, and argument, and he was thrown overboard. Well, I don't think anybody would really realize what exactly happened.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
He died and no more.
Mm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
but I'm still friends with his family and his larger family and the Shipibo themselves. And right now, I have just too much Shipibo artwork. If you want something, I will send you a beautiful Shipibo fabric, and you can hang it somewhere in Indonesia.
Bring it with you when you come here. It's too hard to send things here.
Oh, really?
Well, you can do it, but yeah, it you know.
Maybe I'll just bring it.
Yeah, it'd be better to bring it. It might disappear.
Yeah.
And if when things are really well, I won't go further on that. Um, I remember from your film on it how the ayahuasca ceremony they took did they cut down a tree for it, or did they take a tree that was already down, or what?
Well, they have the leaves that are, of course, just harvested, and then the trunk of the tree. So
Yeah.
there's two things in ayahuasca. Like there's the yage, that is the tree, and they cut the bark off of that.
Oh.
And then the leaf is a chacruna, and that's what giving you the vision. So that's the two things. It's a combo thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it for a long time. So what am I saying?
Yeah. Well, but one other thing is I remember is them taking a long, very large tree trunk and hollowing it out to cook it, or what were they doing in there? It's in the film.
Okay, they were hollowing out the tree because they're going to make a drum out of it. And that's why it's a little bit, I'm a little bit sorry that you couldn't see the little clip that I sent you, because these are people that have nothing to do with ayahuasca or anything like that. But the tree, the drumming that Shipibo did was very similar to the rhythm and the noise that the people were making in the movie, and almost the same music. And I thought, like, oh, how can it be? But that was the same music. It seemed like, even though, of course, had nothing to do with each other.
All right. Here's another thing I remember. You were having problems. You expressed to me about going there because of the political stuff going on. So you started going at least once. You went to the Amazon rainforest down in Brazil to take ayahuasca with some guru that you weren't into his trip, but you liked it anyway. Something like. Tell me about that.
Okay, well, one time I went to a different club. What is it called again? It's a Brazilian ayahuasca. It's very religious, very Christian religious.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had more of a Christian ceremony going.
Mm-hmm.
But they went into the forest with just a group of guys. And the guys would make the ayahuasca in the forest, whereas the women were harvesting the leaves much more down, closer to the village there.
Mm.
So that was also really interesting because even though I'm not a Christian, my mother was very interested in Jesus. Also not a Christian, but she felt like, oh, that was his buddy. Her buddy was Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
She could understand Jesus as as a teacher, and so she relayed that to me, and that was nice to be in the Amazonian rainforest on the Brazilian side, but she that was really interesting too. I love, because of her, I love Jesus too. So I wish you had a film access, because I could show you my little altar here, and it has the Christ, of course, but also the Buddha and everybody else.
Yeah, well, you can make a film.
I can make a little film for you.
Yeah, listen, I can put that film. What about your film about the ayahuasca ceremony in Peru and going there? Just going there was a trip. Is that on YouTube?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well,
it is on YouTube.
All right, we can we can get those links.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, just send me a link to the YouTube. That's good.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to the YouTube.
And I can download YouTube videos. So if I wanted, I can.
That would be great.
Yeah, so I'd have a copy of it too.
Yes. That would be great.
Yeah. Now there was another way back, way further than all this. I remember my first memory about you and South America is when you got into, I think you were just into this film about, I can almost remember the name, about the guardians of the earth who were way, way up. That might have been Peru too, or it might have been Venezuela or Colombia, way, way up, about as high as people can live. And they had noticed changes in what plants were growing there. And it was like one of the earliest warnings of climate change. That was a long time ago.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me about that. Remind me, huh?
Okay, they were the mamas, and now let me get this straight for a second. let me grab it. Yeah, the mamas, and they, man, I didn't know we were going to talk about the mamas, but yeah, they were very fascinating club of people, and you're right. They were the very first people that started warning about climate change.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what
long
year
time
that
ago.
film was made?
Let me think. Let me think. Maybe. Let's see. Well, 89 or something like that.
Yeah. One thing I remember, but they were very, very high up there, and they were noticing this change in the planets. They felt they were the guardians of the Earth.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
they were concerned, and they wanted to get they were an isolated tribe, and they only got in contact because of this concern. They wanted to communicate it to people. And before that, they really discouraged any contact, right?
Yes, they discouraged any contact, and after that, they discouraged any contact too.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Well, one thing they did that I remember, and now you can correct me on the details, is they would put a child, they would raise a child by itself, like in a cave or something, just one, to have some special role. What was that? I can't remember quite.
God, yeah, I will know all of these things, but I have to visualize it and think about it.
Yeah.
Even the name of the tribe and everything.
Yeah. Well, what's the name of the film? I bet it's on YouTube.
I will think about all of that, and I will send you a little email with all of that information.
Right.
But right this second, I'm not the best person to remind ourselves.
Okay. And I can make a place for you on Cuke.com with these various links and film, blah blah blah, and a link to this podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Now you indicated you're somewhat involved in trying to stop Los Alamos from being involved in nuclear weapons. That goes way back. You've been involved with that a long time.
That goes way back, and it keeps going and going and going, and you think like you'd be over it, and you realize you're not. And actually, my buddy Greg Mello, also a Buddhist practitioner, just like me. So we have that in common, and that language in common together, and I guess we're the only ones that are still really protesting against the nuclear weapons endeavor, and that is still going on. You know, they want to make between 60 and 80 new nuclear bombs or nuclear pits, as they call them, every year from now on. And they're trying to do it in Los Alamos because that's a way to get money, keep getting money to Los Alamos. And, because this place, northern New Mexico, is so poor that everybody lets them do it because that's the main industry in northern New Mexico, is making nuclear weapons, and that's how the money comes here to this state. They want to do it between like a 60 and 90, or say 60 and 80 every year. Every year, can you imagine? And nobody in New Mexico is protesting this or saying no, except for my buddy Greg Mello, who's the most informed person on nuclear weapons in this state, and probably in this whole country. And I'm just a helpless helper next to him. He is the one that, goes really deep into it, and every time or every year he keeps going because they keep going, and he's really serious about this and seriously committed. I'm committed to him really more than anything else because I'm not so good at learning. Well, I've tried to learn what Greg gives me, but Greg is so much more learned than I will ever be about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can support Greg as much as I can. But he is really the main force against Lionel, and I'm only like his helper. So, and it's really sad that it just, it's sad that this country or this province, New Mexico, is so poor that they let Los Alamos do whatever. Why? Because that's how they can make money, and it's the biggest industry in northern New Mexico is the weapon industry. So it's really sad. You know that under the airport in Albuquerque, there's 2,000 nuclear weapons stored there. So every single time you take a plane there or from there, you have to stand still for a second and think like, okay, here is where it is. 2,000 bombs underneath my feet. So that is really hard to deal with and to keep dealing with, because it's such a drag. It's such a there's so much to do, so much more to do in life than nuclear weapons, but yet nuclear weapons are imperative, and so you have to say no, and you have to realize, like, okay, if you say no to this, you have to work for that.
I was involved with the nuclear freeze around 1980.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
81, 82,
Freeze, Please, that was your song.
Yeah, Freeze, Please, and then World Suicide, about the...
I don't know that song.
Oh, World Suicide got a lot more attention than Freeze, Please.
Really?
Oh,
Freeze,
yeah.
Please was so good.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna publish those on the internet with some other... I wrote about 50 anti-nuclear songs back then, trying to come up with different ones, and World Suicide was really the one that got people's attention. But back then there was the Physicians for Social Responsibility, the nuclear, which was really the ones that started the nuclear freeze. and Harold Willens with his Businessmen Against the War, and he really was the money behind it. And I was offered to be head of the Northern California part, and I said, you don't want me in an office. You don't want me doing that. Just let me do ad hoc stuff.
It's hard to be there in an office. It's hard to do this stuff.
No, but I'm not an administrator. That's no good. But anyway, there was a very high level of awareness of the threat of nuclear war then. And then Reagan, I remember when Reagan and Gorbachev made some very serious cuts in nuclear weapons. People felt, okay, that's been taken care of. And it's been off the radar ever since. And William Perry, who was Secretary of Defense under, I don't remember, anyway, a while back, he wrote a book called My Journey at the Nuclear Brink, which really showed that it's the likelihood of accidental nuclear war or maybe nuclear war on purpose. And that the big threat is between U.S. and Russia, because that would pretty much destroy life on Earth.
And now it's worse than we've ever seen.
Yeah. And
Pope Francis said World War III has been declared, but that's the Pope saying that. Yeah.
That's one thing the popes have been very good about, and the Mormon Church too. The Mormon Church was the first large church in America to come out for the elimination of nuclear weapons. Yeah, and Jerry Brown is highly aware of all this.
One time Richard Baker came here to visit me, and it actually became kind of a nuclear meeting with Richard Baker too, and Richard Baker suggested we get in touch with, or he would get in touch with Jerry Brown and bring up the points. They were close at that time too.
Jerry Brown wrote a review of Perry's book, My Journey at the Nuclear Brink, for New York Review of Books, maybe. And when Brown retired, Brown was when his second 8-year term as governor, or double terms as governor, the second one was over, he said he wanted to just concentrate on climate change and the threat of nuclear war. And those are the two big ones. Really, everything else is trivial compared to those. Those are
really big things.
Those are going to end
everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Or human culture.
I don't see any slowing down. The nuclear war thing is like it's like dice. You don't know what's going to happen. But the climate change thing is moving ahead at a nice clip that keeps getting faster. And people don't seem to be able to. I mean, the human race doesn't seem to be able to realize what we're doing, and people feel helpless. The people, I ask people here all the time. I've interviewed tons of people here in Bali, and they really feel that there's no point in them thinking about climate change because there's nothing they can do about it. So but Chomsky has pointed out that real social change, big changes, come about from popular protests and mass appeal and support and movements. Anyway, we'll see. All All right. So,
And of course, the Ukraine war doesn't help anything in terms of disarmament of nuclear weapons. It's like advertisement for making more nuclear weapons,
yeah.
and that's how a place like Los Alamos takes it. You know, they want to make more, and everybody says, "Well, how much more did you want?" Oh, between 60 and 80. Okay, how much is it going to cost? Okay, so 2026, we're going to have that going. Not that it is going to go, because we're going to just keep protesting and keep publishing the insanity of it. But
Yeah.
that's how they think.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when did you move to Santa Fe?
I moved there at the end of remember the whole thing came falling apart when, what was the year?
83. You mean at the San
83,
Francisco's
yeah.
Zen Center?
Yeah, the Zen Center.
Yeah.
So 83. So at the end of 83, I moved to Santa Fe. And it was really because Richard Baker asked me.
And why did he ask you?
He asked me to go here because I just wanted to go. And I told him, I said, I just want to go. I thought maybe I was going to stay in California or someplace. I didn't know exactly what to do yet. And then he said, why did you go to Santa Fe? And because I think he knew he was going to go there at some point. And that gave me sort of a goal, like, oh, I should go to Santa Fe. And so I was actually the first one here.
Oh, yeah. Wow, far out.
But I was already here. And then when he came here, you know, I had said to him before, like, I was not interested in a Zen center or same kind of structure of like the teacher and then having all the students and whatnot. I was not really interested in that. I was interested in keeping Buddhism going or keeping that going, but I was not interested in having Richard Baker play the Roshi and all of that. I was not really interested in that. So,
but you still went there when he suggested it. You had a relationship with him.
I had a relationship with Richard Baker.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to help him as much as I could, even in the Sahara. I wanted to, because I thought he was going to kill himself. You know, nobody saw that, but I saw him being totally pale and gray and out of it. So I felt really worried about Richard Baker and worried about the Zen Center, worried about Sahara, where I was at that time. And so I said to him, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to leave here. I'm not going to stay in Sahara. Because I felt really also in Sahara, I don't know if you were there, were you there?
Yeah.
No, you weren't there. You weren't living in Sahara. You would come with the club when Richard Baker would come and other people would come.
Yeah, I lived there earlier. I lived there 7 years, but it was earlier.
Yeah, you lived there before.
Yeah.
But not at 80.
Yeah. Yeah, I moved there shortly after we bought it.
Yes, you were much earlier. You were there. Yeah, yeah. I remember you coming and even teaching some.
No,
Uh,
no.
Not lecturing and whatnot, but personally.
Oh,
For me, it was nice and see you as an example that maybe Tenza that was good for some.
oh. Well, you mean I just BS with you?
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so you went to Santa Fe, and this is interesting. Actually, the people that went with him to Santa Fe pretty much had were not like sycophantic devotees. They were pretty strong people. His son and
Philip Whalen was there, and Isan came, and who else? What is the guy's name that set up some monasteries or some practice place in Northern California? I think he wanted to get transmission. I don't know if he ever got it, but
no, there's nobody I can think of.
then Welch came.
Dan Welch was there, but he wasn't there because of Richard. He and Deborah were there, and Dan and Richard were not on speaking terms. Then he was very angry at Richard until you know what changed it. He started softening up after a number of years, and then he went with me in God, when was this? Like 95 to spend a few days with Richard just doing interviews.
Yeah.
And we stayed up all night. Dan and I did, and Richard would stay with us a lot. We'd had like 3 days just communicating. And after that, Dan went, well, yeah, he's thought, you know, he changed. And then he went on to become, he was involved in Crestone Mountain Zen Center. He became a teacher there, and he was made the abbot. But then he had a falling out again, and now he's back in Santa Fe.
I see him I saw him 2 times, but I realized, like, okay, there's something that I don't know about. Yeah, I saw him a few times because I really liked Dan Wells, and I always wondered what happened the second time they had a falling out or something like that.
Oh, I can tell you about that, but I don't want to talk about it here.
No, you don't have to tell me that. I always thought it was really, I felt sorry for them that somehow they didn't get it together, because Dan was in my book, was a very worthy person.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and everybody feels that way about him. He's just not a cynical person. When things happened that upset people, I went, yeah, people do stuff like that, and I usually know about it anyway. But some people would be extremely upset. Making too much out of a teacher, man, it just gets you in trouble.
I get you in trouble.
People take responsibility for themselves, and they should remember, I used to say, the rule of Zen Center is, what Zen Center giveth, Zen Center taketh away. And that's true. That's true with Richard Baker, and it's true for him. Nobody owns anything in that world. It's sort of like the corporate world. When Sim Vanderen founded the Farallons Institute, I don't know if you remember him or Farallons. in north of San Francisco, and it was a alternative energy. He's an architect, like a sort of appropriate technology community, but very back to the earth, sort of whole earth catalog-y. Anyway,
what was his name again?
Sim Vanderen. Anyway,
Sim Vanderen, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
he founded that.
He has a Dutch background.
He has what?
He has also a Dutch background.
Oh,
Sim Vanderen.
Yeah, maybe so. No, he's Dutch. I don't know if he was.
Yeah, he is Dutch.
I don't know if he was born there.
I don't know. I don't remember.
He has probably not born there, but he has Dutch ancestry. He's Van der Rin from the Rhine.
Yeah.
Right. And but he was finally overthrown as the head of the Farallones, and a guy on the board, David Katz, who said, it happens, and he got founder's disease. And that's what happens. People who found things think they own them. They feel entitled. They get founder's disease. And if they start a strong community, which Dick did, the community at some point says, rebels.
Enough of you.
It just happens predictably, almost.
But Dave, who I really got close to here?
Who?
Kobun Chino Otogawa.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about him.
Okay. I had met him one time in California as well. And he claimed that he wrote my Raksu.
Yeah.
He wrote my name down, and now he claims that is actually the main name that was given to me, Valquist. Anyway, he was here, and a few months after I came here, I think in December or something like that. He came here too. He came to Taos.
Oh, yeah.
He established a little zendo there.
It's still going.
What?
It's still going. Yeah, up in Arroyo Seco. Do you remember what it's called?
Ecochi?
Oh, maybe so. It was Bob Watkins' home.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And, there's a whole history there. Yeah, I visited many times there.
I started sitting with Kobun.
Yeah.
And we got to be good friends. And then one time we did a session or something like that. And he pointed at my Raksu. He said, "Can I look at your Raksu?" And I gave him my Raksu, and he said, that is good. I'm sexy. And then he looked at me and he said, "I gave you that name."
Huh.
So it was his handwriting, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
But then after that, we became real good friends. And so I visited Kobun, and we ate here and there, and he would make food as well. And then one time he came with me to the Netherlands.
Oh, is that right?
To see my mother, who was sick at that time. And Kobun thought, like, okay, he could cook her some miso soups that would heal her,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and so we spent time there, and we spent time in Amsterdam together while Kobun was here, which was really, really nice. And so we became really good friends.
Did you smoke any pot in Amsterdam?
Yes, and I did smoke pot in Amsterdam, and but I don't remember smoking pot with Kobun there.
Uh-huh.
But he did take some ayahuasca together with.
No kidding.
No, he take mushrooms together with.
Uh-huh. 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 Ah. Yeah.
But that was already in California.
Oh, well, you gave me a giant bag of mushrooms when Kelly and I were there. When Kelly was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right when Kelly and I were leaving to go to Texas. We had just moved out. Elon drove our stuff to California. We'd been there a year, which is what we planned to do. And I had our Toyota station wagon, and I drove it with Clay, who was 2.5, and Kelly. And you gave me this giant bag of mushrooms, and you told me Kelly and I should take all of it. I stopped doing psychedelics in '67, so I've stuck with that. But when I was driving, this was a big bag, and you told us to take the whole thing. It was like a grocery bag, and I took one little piece of mushroom.
I had so many.
Well, I was driving and we did a number of things, visiting people in Taos, Santa Fe, in the Shries, the Shries, Josh Shry and his parents in Santa Fe. And Josh was more like Kelly's age. We stopped there, and he was having a party for all his young friends, and they were doing mohawks and dyeing hair purple and stuff, so we got our heads shaved. Anyway, so driving from that night from Santa Fe to Fort Worth the next morning, 12 hours, I took one little tiny piece of that mushroom and chewed on it for fun, to see what it would taste like. And that got me
very
high. Well, not too high to drive, but it really changed the trip. And you said, see, you were into the Terrence McKenna trip. You said that the mushrooms, that McKenna's trip was they're an extraterrestrial life form that have come to Earth. And when you eat the magic mushroom, it's you're communicating with the spirit or whatever of the extraterrestrials, and it's they're what they're communicating is love. So I needed to concentrate and enjoy the ride back, and so I just went, I don't know, love is all or something like that the entire time, because it lasted a long time. And then I told Elin about it when she got to Fort Worth, and she said, you drove your two sons, our baby, from Santa Fe to Fort Worth on mushrooms. I said, well, just a tiny, tiny little bite. Yeah, but you said you got high. Well, just a little bit high. A little bit high doesn't really hurt your driving. But anyway, I remember that because we visited you before we left.
And Terrence McKenna said, "Oh, you should take the heroic dose." That was his word, and he really encouraged people to take so many that you would get really high. That's why he probably gave you a lot.
Yeah, well, Kelly took the whole thing later, Kelly, like you and some other people I know, has been into what I would call a sort of sober psychedelic trip. In other words, not just taking it to get high all the time or anything, but having particular times where you took it for, meditation, and it seems to have a good effect there. And research actually shows that too, that people who've had psychedelics tend to have better integrated brains and tend to be happier.
Oh, really?
Tend to be happier. Yeah. It can be very helpful. It's not part of my practice anymore, but I certainly know a lot of serious practitioners that have taken psychedelics and ecstasy in modern times.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and to me, the war on entheogens, the more newer term for is so immoral and so terrible, and it's religious persecution. And I'm certainly not the first person to say that. So, all right. So you went to Santa Fe. Pardon me. I'm taking it a little off subject.
Yes.
So, no, when you were talking about Kobun, what else do you have to say about Kobun?
Kobun. Okay, so he became my friend, and of course, when he died, that was really sad day for all of us. But Kobun got to be a really good friend, and I can see him making the miso soup for my mother in Oosterbeek in the Netherlands, where we were. So we also went to Amsterdam at that time. He loved to make. There was people that I forget exactly how we did it, but they made like pages with painting on it or paint on it that you had to soak in water, and you had to throw the pages on top of the water, and then when you took it out, there would be a really crazy image going back up. And Kobun just loved that, and we spent time together doing that. And then, of course, he lived here in Santa in Taos. He made a beautiful little zendo there, and so I would go there. He would be. He was really a Taoist more than a Zen guy in a way. He liked to go by himself into the forest.
Yeah.
Only a little ways away in the forest, but he built a hut there in the forest, and that's where he preferred to be. And if you were thinking about yourself as a student, Kobun liked to make a hut in the forest.
Yeah.
In Taos, and if you wanted to be a student of Kobun, you better find the hut and find Kobun there making tea on a teeny tiny little fire, because that's where he would be. Yeah.
I walked around there with him, and there was this house he was building, and all he had was the foundation, the cement foundation. I don't know.
For the longest time.
It's right there in Arroyo Seco, walking distance from the Zendo. I think it never got beyond the foundation. He never tried to raise money or anything. I mean, he lived with Steve Jobs a long time. He was like Steve Jobs' teacher, and Bob Watkins called Steve Jobs once and asked for some support for Kobun, because Bob Watkins was a major support of Kobun, and so was Vanya Palmers, of course. But Bob was asked Steve Jobs if he could help out, and then Jobs said, no, he won't support Kobun unless Kobun's living with him.
Well, that's such a sad story. Yeah. One time I forget what it was, or you we were gonna go to Steve Jobs to fly, or what was happening with it? I forget exactly. I'm gonna think about it now, and I'm gonna write a few notes, and then I'll send you an email
Yeah,
with
okay.
all the things that I will think about. But Steve Jobs was a deal in Kobun's life.
He was a what in Kobun's life?
He was a deal in Kobun's life. He was an entity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Steve Jobs was very well, I don't know about greedy, but he was very particular about like, oh yeah, he was going to support Kobun, whatever. That sounds like Steve Jobs. But did Steve Jobs ever come to the Zen Center or anything like that? No.
Well, he was a serious student at Los Altos Indo. He sat there.
Oh, Los Altos.
That's before he got wealthy.
Yeah.
And, people who sat there remember him. And, his the biography on him said he went to retreats at Tassajara. That isn't true. He did. I've interviewed his friend he traveled to India with, who is like his best friend. I got a nice long interview with him, and Kotke or something. And yeah, I got to do something about that. That guy said, I'm not sure about his name. Here, wait a minute. I'll just write very easy. Who went to India with Steve Jobs? Daniel Kotke, I think it is. Yep, I got it. Daniel Kotke. Anyway, Kotke told me that he and Steve Jobs would go to Tassajara once a year, like a pilgrimage. But it wasn't to practice Zen. It was to go to the baths. But they felt that Zen, they were getting Zen osmosis. It was to go to the baths and buy a bunch of bread. And he said they did that every year. And, something happened. Kotke never understood it. At some point, Jobs cut him off. And also, he was involved in creating Apple. And for some reason, Jobs said, don't give him any money. When they were saying this person can have so many chairs. And nobody really understood why. And later, the company rewarded him for his earlier efforts. But he wasn't mad about it or anything. He was very nice about it. Jobs was eccentric. Kobun talked about Jobs in a retreat in Austria at the place that he and Vanya founded in Austria. I mean, the main place is in above Lake Luzerne, Felsentor, but and that was recorded, and that I have that audio. Actually, it's video, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just audio, and I have pictures. And he talked about Jobs there, but you know what? I've written this all up quite. I mean, I've got all the notes and everything. I haven't made it into anything beyond that. But Kobun's memory was so bad, man. He got things all mixed up. I mean, when he's talking about it, he's talking about Lucy, right? The computer, and how Jobs said, this is the proof of his enlightenment. But Lucy was after that time when Jobs came to him with some, and I can't remember all the details. But Kobun said, well, he wasn't a good Zen student because he was serious. He was serious about Zen. Many people are serious about practice in Buddhism who don't like to sit a lot. He said, jobs really didn't like sitting more than one period. Yeah, and he said he couldn't really sit. It was hard for him to sit an hour. But anyway, they had quite an interesting relationship. There's a graphic book out on it that Forbes magazine put out, and that I think an intern for Forbes put together, and it is the worst. It's the worst. He couldn't have done something worse that was less representative of Kobun, and he had factual stuff off. He had Suzuki meeting Jobs, which never happened, and Suzuki, being like this uptight. It didn't even bother to draw something that looked like Suzuki sort of dissing Jobs for being a hippie, and so they were trying to paint Kobun as the rebel and Suzuki as the uptight, old-fashioned Zen person. And anyway, the whole thing was so awful. I've thought of getting hold of Forbes and saying, "Hey, I could give you an accurate story of all that if you want to make up for the horrible thing you published." But it'd be some work. It's on my list of things to get to, though. All right. So now, how soon after you moved to Santa Fe did you start baking bread?
Cloudcliff? No, I started it already. I started it in December, same year.
Same year. Well, what month did you come there?
83.
Yeah, what month did you go there?
Not a lot earlier, but over the summer, I think.
Oh, okay. So you got there in this summer. In December, you started Cloudcliff. Where did you start baking? What does your baking experience go back to?
Well, that was in the Zen Center.
Where?
I worked at the bakery there.
Oh, you worked at the Tatsahara Bakery.
Yeah, I worked at the Tatsahara Bakery. I worked there. I was going to just say something to you, but I forget it. I'm going to make a note when you talk to think about what I need to say to you. But, that was in December, and then it was really tiny, and then...
I remember it.
On the rail yard.
Yeah, it was small. It was a small thing.
Yeah, a small thing. But then, I had a lot of people there that wanted to bake something with me, so that was nice. And then, I forget when exactly, but I got noticed that they wanted to do something with the rail yard, and that my building was slated to get torn down.
Yeah.
It was. And then I was with a newspaper in my hand that had, the demise of Cloudcliff and everything on the rail yard written in there. I walked around. I was living on J Street here, close to where I'm now, and I was with the newspaper, and I came around the corner here, and I saw this big sign that said, 7,400 square feet for rent or for sale, and Wayne Nichols said. And so Wayne Nichols had a little relationship with, I think, with his Zen Center or something like that, because he knew about it. He's not bad, but I think he now. So then I moved to 2nd Street where I'm now. And
Wait a minute. Then you moved to 2nd Street where you were years and years over there. Cloud Cliff.
Yes, I was years.
You were decades there.
Yeah, years.
And it was a great restaurant. It wasn't just a bakery. It was one of the best places in Santa Fe.
It was a fun place.
We used to go there. We also used to go sit zazen with you there, Elin and me.
Yes, I know. I kept sitting zazen my whole life. I still do. Although now, I think, I like to read about all the people, including you, I think, saying something about the posture of zazen and how perfect it is. And it is, no doubt. But I sat and I sat and I sat, and I destroyed my right knee.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Okay, well, that's good to hear, because I didn't know a lot of people did, but I did. And so now I have to sit on a chair.
Yeah. I noticed early on at Zen Center people getting knee operations. So I've always been careful. But I'm sitting with my legs crossed right now. I don't know, maybe I'm lucky.
Nice.
I mainly sit with my legs crossed. Yeah. But I just put a thing up yesterday on Cuke What's New blog.
Yes, that's what I was reading.
About sitting in a chair. Just yesterday. Somebody
that is not something to be very good.
Somebody wrote me here, let me see. So I put it up instead of a Suzuki lecture excerpt. Zazen posture. I got the following question. I was wondering, did Suzuki Roshi ever allow anyone to sit zazen in chairs? And so I'm going to read what I wrote. It's not real long. Yes, it was rare back then. He said that if all one can do is lie down, then that's the best posture for zazen. His close disciple Trudy Dixon had to lie down in the Tassajara Zendo to do zazen. He had her lie down next to him in the raised area. When Peter Schneider was head monk, he hurt his knee and he had to sit on the raised area with a leg hanging down. In the city, there were occasional people who had to use chairs. In the new book on vignettes about Suzuki Zen is right now, we have, once Suzuki was asked, what's the difference between sitting zazen on the floor and in a chair? He said, the only difference is the legs. And then I said, writing that from memory, not exact quote. I have no trouble sitting lotus, I say. I was sitting with my legs up, and sometimes I do zazen in a chair or couch, sitting with legs down or one leg down. I'd say to be skeptical of any teaching that says you can't practice if there's some limitation that goes against the norm. Anyway, so that's what I have to say to you. Yeah, sit in a chair, sit however you can.
But I destroyed my knee a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that.
Maybe 10 years ago, here in Santa Fe.
Oh.
And I have little trouble walking, and but it really damaged me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can get that fixed.
Yeah, maybe. Because I will look at it again and see if somebody can fix it. But I think my cartilage and my muscle work on that knee really damaged.
Yeah, well, they give you they can put a new knee in there.
Ah, yes, that is true.
I have a friend that just got 2 new knees and 2 new shoulders.
You do?
I have a friend,
Oh, okay.
and he was a body worker who was always into healthy eating and exercise. It was just, what he was born with, I guess. Yeah. So, hey, Willem, I want to go back now. When
Yeah.
when did you come from Holland to? Can I say Holland, the Netherlands?
Yes.
Uh,
So I was 20, 20, I think maybe I was 20 years old. Let me think. Yeah, maybe. Yes, I think I was maybe 21 years old.
yeah.
Yeah, 21 years old, I would say. And I came straight to the Zen Center.
Is that right?
Why? Because I had I had actually the idea that I wanted to practice Zazen, and I wanted to actually. I know now it occurs. Um, at the time, I was studying sociology, and the newest thing there in sociology was total institutions. And total institutions were like, for instance, a prison or a hospital or something like that, where all of the regular things that you do, like making food and things like that, or buying food or anything like that, the total institution would take care of all of those needs, and you would just have to do what the total institution would assign you to do.
Mm.
And I was interested in Zen Buddhism at that time, and I thought like, oh, I should go to a monastery that is a total institution. If you have one, there it is. Total institution is monastery. So I wrote a letter to Baker Roche
Oh,
at that time.
what year was that?
Well, what year was that? When I was 20, maybe 20, 21 years old. So that must have been so 55 plus 21 is
76.
76 to 70, maybe a little bit later, 77 maybe.
Yeah.
I forget what year, but it was somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I wrote a letter to Richard Baker and saying like I was interested in practicing Buddhism at the Zen Center. Why, my secret agenda was, I should really study and say something about total institutions, since that is a new concept in sociology, and I thought like, okay, maybe there's something there that I can learn, and I was already very interested in Buddhism and practicing Buddhism, practicing sitting, zazen, and thought like, oh, maybe Richard Baker or maybe the Zen Center would be able to teach me something, because here I am, I'm doing this all by myself, and I don't know anything about it, and I don't know anything about the teaching around the sitting, and sitting in with these groups of people was all new for me, even though I had sat by myself already for years.
For how long?
I would say, my first interest in Zen Buddhism came when I was maybe, let's say, maybe 16 years old. Because I was I was early on, because I had a girlfriend, Suzanne Oxenaar, when I was only 16 years old. And her father was a very big director of art in the Netherlands, and he was the director of the Kröller-Müller Museum. It's one of the big museums in the Netherlands. You have the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam with all the Rembrandts, and then you have the Kröller-Müller Museum, which has all the Van Gogh. And so father of Suzanne was a very interesting guy to me, was very interesting, even though he was very, he didn't have too many words, but he introduced me to Zen Buddhism, or Buddhism in general, and I thought like, oh, that is an interesting practice. So I did that because of him, really, that I got interested in it. And so his name was Ruud Oxenaar. 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 Ruud Oxenaar. Anyway, so he turned me on, and I thought like I was studying, like I said, sociology in the Netherlands, but mainly sociology, and I thought like, oh, it would be interesting to do a study of total institutions, and there's a new Zen Center, was not new, but it was fairly to make a Zen Center or serious monastic effort in the United States of America. And the Netherlands was not really, at that time, the Netherlands was not that interested in Buddhism or monasteries, wasn't that interested in that, other than the total institutions at the sociology study that I was doing. And so then I wrote a little letter and to Richard Baker, and I thought like my plan was really to go to California and not just see the Zen Center, but see other centers that were sprouting up at that time. There were other monasteries too that were, just starting. Anyway, I wrote a little letter to. I don't have the letter anymore, but to Richard Baker, and Richard Baker wrote me a letter back, which was really nice. I felt very blessed to get a letter back from Richard Baker saying that I was welcome to come to the Zen Center. And so I came there, and I don't know if you remember, but the first day I came to the Zen Center, I actually sat on a cushion and fainted. It was probably just from all the airplane rides and whatnot, but I'm sure it was an event that happened at Zen Center that they took note of. Like, oh, Willem Malten came to the Zen Center the first day, sitting. He fainted. It was actually in a little hallway going
in the guide town, leading to the Zen. Yeah.
That's where I fainted.
Were you sitting when you fainted, or were you standing?
Yes. No, I was sitting in anyway, it was a big deal for me, and I felt pretty bad about myself. But Richard Baker had encouraged me enough to trust the situation, and then I attended some lectures with Baker, and I felt like I'm not going to travel to all the other places. I saw some lectures there of Richard upstairs, and I thought like, oh, that's really cool. I don't have to travel around. I'm going to just stay here and be with Richard. And Richard, of course, he encouraged me to do that. I really appreciated him, being so open with me, towards me. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was really cool. So then I just stayed there. I went back to the Netherlands. I finished my study, and then I thought as soon as I finished the study, I go back to the Zen Center, which is what I did. After a year in the Netherlands, or maybe a little bit less than a year in the Netherlands, I went back to the Zen Center and pretty much stayed there with encouragement of Richard Baker.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. And then so of the Zen Center, Richard Baker, how he was a lot out, and so it was hard to really get to know him. But I got to know Isan Dorsey really well. And Isan Dorsey was actually the first person I met at the Zen Center. I remember coming from the airplane in the early evening, knocking on the door of the Zen Center, and finally the door opened, and who was there? Isan Dorsey. Yeah, and so Isan Dorsey, from the very first, made a really nice impression on me. He was a really nice guy, and I became really good friends with Isan Dorsey too. And he came to Santa Fe too, and then of course after he came here, after that he started his own place in the Castro district.
Right.
And so I saw him there too. I stayed with him there, and he became a really close friend to me there too. Isan Dorsey. I loved Isan Dorsey, and I loved what he did with all of the junkies and also with all of the AIDS people where he was in the Castro district.
Yeah.
So Isan Dorsey, very high on my in my regard, and I became really good friends with Isan Dorsey. And so nice that he came here too, to Santa Fe, but I went to several times to see Isan Dorsey. And one time, and I forget who the other guy was, a very nice guy too in the Zen Center, but Isan had asked me to do vacation with him.
To do what?
1 week vacation.
Oh. Maybe Mike Jamvold?
Yeah, maybe it was Mike Jambold. I don't know. He was very smart guy too, and pretty for Isan. Thought, oh yeah, I said Isan, why did you ask this guy, Michael Jambold? Maybe was it that his name? And me, why did you ask me to do both a week of vacation with Isan Dorsey? And Isan said, oh, you will just see most attractive guys. The most attractive guys that were around.
There was Mike, there was Steve Allen.
No, not Steve Allen. No, it was Mike, I think.
Yeah. Steve Allen didn't socialize with Isan the way Mike did.
Okay, now Mike and I didn't really socialize. Of course, no, I did socialize with Isan Dorsey, but not in a homosexual manner.
No, Isan. I used to live with Isan. He had lots of experience living with straight people and being around straight people. He had no...
That was the nice thing about Isan.
Yeah, he didn't really even have gay identity, I wouldn't say.
No.
And he was very gay.
Yeah, he was very gay. Yeah. But he was a beautiful man and... a beautiful teacher too, I would say.
Yeah.
I loved Isan Dorsey a lot. And we had a vacation in Palm Springs in California.
You went there with him?
Yeah.
Far out. That's when he had AIDS, right?
Yes, he had already AIDS.
Yeah.
But we had a hotel there, and 2 gay people were running the hotel that were friends of Isan, and Isan was just so funny and wonderful with them. Also making clear to them, they had prejudices that Isan didn't share with them. Like they had prejudice against women. Isan was just like, oh, well, there was a little to do. How did it go again? Isan and me were there, and then they came one evening saying like, I can't believe it. Some woman is moving into the hotel. I'm so sorry. And Isan was just laughing because Isan couldn't care less.
Yeah. Jay Simoneau went there with him.
That was with, what was his name again?
Jay Simoneau.
Jay. Yeah. Jay. Okay, I wouldn't mind meeting Jay again and talking a little about Isan and what his time was like.
Yeah,
Because,
well, you won't be able to.
Why? Jay died?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so I had 1 week with Isan, and then Jay had with Isan as well.
Yeah, yeah. I sort of saw those as two separate weeks. And one thing I remember is that Isan knew that's when AIDS was terminal, you know?
Yes, that's when
He knew he was
was
dying, so he would go there. He got all these credit cards, and he'd go there and charge everything on his credit cards so that he would die with a lot of credit card debt.
Yeah, we had a joke. Isan and me had a joke. Something like, "Whoever owns the most wins," and that was about credit cards.
At this point, Willem and I decided it was time to say goodbye. But he said, "Oh, but there's so much we didn't talk about." And he said, "Oh, I kind of didn't talk about the Dalai Lama." So we agreed he'd take notes and write things up. And we'd put it on his page on cuke.com if there is one, and if there isn't, I'll start a page for him. And if he wants, we can just do another podcast. So we'll see what happens there, and then we say goodbye. But as usual, that extends into saying some other stuff, and then finally really saying goodbye. All right, cool. And we'll be in touch.
David, this was really a pleasure for me.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's good, and I need a picture of you for it, and I would like a now picture and a then picture. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So I did not too many pictures were taken at that time of me, but I find something.
You know, and
Anything.
Barbara Wenger has tons of pictures of people who were there in the years that when you.
Probably she has a picture.
Yeah. So, but I'll send her an email and ask her for something.
Yeah, and I will find a picture of what I look like now.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. The one that the now one is actually more important because that goes with the podcast. The then picture goes on cuke.com. The then picture can come up anytime. Well, here's a good picture of you right now. Oh.
Okay.
That's a good picture. I'm looking at Cloud Cliff. What is this? I wrote Willem Malten, Cloud Cliff Bakery images. And let's see. Well, there's two of them with a good face of you. See, I could take out. Oh, that is great. What is this picture? Let me see. Cloud Cliff, Santa Fe, the story of Cloud Cliff. Oh, that's a very good picture of you there. Willem Malten, Master Baker. How old is that picture? Do you know? You've got a hat on and like a leather coat.
Okay, no, it's probably, that sounds like early time Cloud Cliff. Maybe, I don't know when it is. But
yeah, what's in the present one, there and I'll get something from Barbie. If you find something that's older, send it. Oh, here's you with people there with this giant loaf of, looks like rye bread or something.
Uh-huh.
It's like 3 feet long. All right, very cool.
Okay, well, I'll be in touch, and I will send you a picture too.
Yeah, yeah. CloudCliffBakery.com is a good site, man.
Yes.
Yeah, send me any links and stuff like that. All right.
Okay.
Very good. Quite enjoyable talking with you, Willem.
Okay, David.
Take care.
I'll talk to you soon. Okay. I appreciate it so much. I enjoyed very much, and I will write a few little things that I can think of, but it may be it won't be a real story or anything.
I don't
like
care.
That.
You do it any way you want. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't, whatever. Just jot things down at random.
Okay.
Whatever you want. It'll all be fine. Doesn't have to, like you said, you like Zen, but you don't you don't want to continue any particular Zen forms. So write me what you want, but you don't have to.
I like to practice, though.
Yeah, you like to practice. So let's say you like to practice writing, but you don't necessarily want to be stuck on any particular form.
No.
All right, that's fine.
Exactly. Not anymore.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. All right. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks very much, and talk to you soon.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
So thanks, Willem Malten. That was really good. We look forward to hearing what you send us or having another podcast or whatever. We'll see. This has been a Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from sleepy Sonora with Dogga Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.